Welcome to the Legacy Syndicate podcast.
I'm Jesse Moon, Helen to you from Dallas, Texas, and I have my business partner,
Mark Cassara here, and this is episode
10.
It's episode 10.
Episode 10.
10 episodes in, guys.
Yeah, you thought it was episode 100.
I was about to say 9, but I remember last week we did 9. So
it
yeah.
feels like 100.
It feels like
it's only 10.
Yeah.
But we got a good lineup for you guys today. We're gonna make this about 30-35 minutes. We want to be respectful of your time, but we're gonna drop mad value for you today. So make sure you're taking notes because what you write down, you will retain, my friends. But with that being said, Mark, it's been a crazy week. I think last week was the run on the banks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So there's been some playouts and some drawbacks, and we've been uncovering. So as they're peeling that layer of the onion back, it's been uncovering some mismanagement.
Yeah. What's that? The quote that Warren Buffett says:
"He or she that controls your money
controls the decisions that you make,
and the decisions you make in your life."
He also had another quote talking about when the tide goes out,
it's going to reveal who's swimming naked.
It's going to reveal who's swimming naked. And there's a lot of banks right now that are swimming naked.
They're swimming really naked.
And we just saw Credit Suisse, right? Is that how you say it? Credit Suisse? Credit Suisse just got bought out.
By their number one competitor.
Guys, UBS, right?
Correct. So Credit Suisse made some bold moves. They wanted to compete in the marketplace, right? So over the past 2-3 years, they made some bold moves, all right? And, you can't hold it against them. They were trying to compete and take over number 2, number 1
They've been trying to compete for a decade.
Sure.
They've been trying to bring, try to beat UBS in ranking of, and they just could never get it. They can never get there.
But it's not 100% their fault. Yeah. It's like nobody has a crystal ball. We can't predict what's going to take place. What foreign wars are going to take place, what people are going to do with the economy.
What's going to happen in the economy.
The bonds. Yeah. It just didn't work out in their favor.
Yeah. So they were about to go insolvent.
Yep.
They weren't able to pay out any of their bills. They were going to literally just go bankrupt and probably go under like SVB Bank.
Yep. So even another discovery was First Citizens.
Yeah.
First Citizens Bank rallied like 30 other banks together to try to bail them out for $30 billion.
Yeah.
And then they come out and find out it wasn't even enough.
And when was the last time you saw 30 banks come together to bail one bank out? Why did they do that? Give me your insight on why you think that 30 banks came together to raise capital to bail one bank out. Why?
Well, now they have part ownership of that bank.
Of course, but they're scared as hell.
He or she that controls your money controls you.
Right.
And if I own a piece of your business, I got some say so.
Let me ask you a question. What would have happened if that bank didn't get bailed out? What would have happened if that bank went under? That would have been the 4th, 5th bank that went under, right?
But, I mean, there's 37 other banks in worse financial positions than those banks.
Right.
So that's just the banks that's on the news right now.
Yeah, right, sure.
So it's
so I think these 30 banks got scared.
Sure.
And they didn't want to allow another bank to go under because that would have been a domino effect. That would have the dominoes would have continued to fall. Banks would have continued to collapse. And so I think that was like a temporary Band-Aid, a temporary fix that they put on the system so that the system doesn't fracture 100%. But man, there's people that are freaking out, even people that are covered by FDIC insurance right now. Because obviously we know, guys, your money's protected. The average Joe Schmo, your money's protected up to $250,000 because of FDIC insurance. It's federal insurance that covers banks.
Is it really protected though?
Well, that's what they say. At least on paper it is. But it's not, people that have less than $250,000 are running on the banks. They're freaking out, trying to move their money. And let's just not add even the drama that Janet Yellen is causing to the whole problem, saying we're only going to bail out the big banks, but we're not going to touch the smaller ones,
Yeah, so I'm going to read this right now. So FDIC. By the end of 2022, the FDIC reported that its deposit insurance fund had a balance of $128 billion, less than half of the $262 billion that it needs.
Right. So in other words, you're saying
FDIC don't have enough money.
They don't have enough money.
Everybody.
FDIC doesn't have enough money in their vaults, in their deposits to insure all the people that they're promising they're going to insure.
They're out of money, man.
Yeah.
So it's something else came out today, where I was looking at this. So we'll talk about the layoffs here in a moment. But I was looking at, I saw a post and it made me, this week, the bank deposits of Wells Fargo, Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, Citibank, Morgan Stanley, and Bank of America fell by 98.4
I
billion.
saw that.
They ended the week
I saw that.
$98.4 billion less.
That means people are not going to the bank and putting their money with
The
them.
trust is found. The trust of the banks is not there anymore.
And that's a trust issue at the end of the day. People are scared.
I need you to send me all your addresses.
Yeah.
I won't tell anybody. I'm just playing, guys.
Yeah.
Just playing.
I mean, where are they putting their money if they're not putting it in the banks?
In the walls.
In the walls, underneath the mattresses,
floorboards,
in the tin cans, right?
So,
that's what our grandparents used to do.
They're buried in a time capsule, three trees on the right side of the porch.
I mean, if you think about it, you remember the stories. I don't know if you remember, but my grandfather used to tell me stories about how the banks literally locked up his money for 6 months at a time when they had a run on banks back during the Great Depression. And they would take all their money, they would stockpile their money, stick it in the wall boards of their homes, in the walls and behind the cabinets, because they were afraid that if they put it inside a bank, they'd never be able to access it again. Well, and it seems like history is repeating itself.
One of my favorite movies is
was it A Beautiful Life? What is it?
It's A Beautiful Life.
It's A Beautiful Life, yeah.
Where it takes place around the Depression area.
Yeah.
And one of the bankers came in trying to buy up all the get all the customers.
Yeah.
And there was a run on the bank, so he was taking his personal money out of his wallet, and he's like, "How much do you need? Don't close your account. How much do you need?" He's like, "I need 20. Can you do 15? I'll give you 15." So it's just to keep the bank up because everybody came to get their money out at one time. That's what's happening right now.
And not to mention, it's also happening in China. Did you know that?
Oh yeah, this is a global economy. It's not just taking place here.
There's literally a run on banks in China where these smaller banks are locking up people's money.
China is in worse financial position than America. Oh, yeah. China is on the brink of collapse.
Sure.
Just like you see these big mega cities they built in China, nobody lives there.
Right. They're called ghost cities.
Yeah.
Ghost towns.
What's really going on in China?
Yeah.
China, it's over 50% of the population is over 60 years old. China is about to, not exist.
And because they had that limit on how many kids you can have, right? You only have, what was it, 2.5?
Two kids, and then you got to pay taxes on everyone.
Right. So people weren't having enough kids. Now they have the oldest generation in the entire world right now. And so people are retiring, but there's not enough babies in population to take over, right? And that's dangerous, man.
That's a good transition in what's taking place between, China, Russia, Ukraine, all this stuff. Guys, the first thing I want to tell you is don't panic. Don't panic, guys, right? It's we talked about fear, uncertainty, doubt during the last episode, but there's a lot of fear mongering going on. People are trying to play us because fear sharpens listening, and people are unethically trying to monetize off of the fear of middle class America. Don't panic, guys. Okay, finding one or two trusted sources and just tune into that source. Okay, not 20 different sources. You're going to get confused, overwhelmed, and you're not going to make any bold moves, or you're not going to make good moves.
Yeah.
So think about this right now. We hear China, or no, let's say this, because we got a big social media following.
Sure.
And everybody's like, oh, the Fed coin, the petrodollar, there's no fiat currency going to exist.
Digital dollar, right.
Like, I'm like, they've been saying that for 5 years already.
Sure.
Ever since I've been in the crypto space at that time. And that was what we would do to strike FOMO.
Sure.
Right? Fear of missing out.
Freak everybody
put
out.
All your money,
put all your money in Bitcoin. Yeah.
But here we are 5 years later.
Right.
Right? Sure, digital currency will exist. If you get a bank debit card that has a chip on it, that's called digital currency. It's a cashless society. Think about this. When we get to the point of a Fed coin, that's complete socialism.
Sure.
They will track every
100%.
Every cent spent, how much you tip your waitress, everything. Like they would track everything.
You know, it reminds me of that movie Limitless. Do you ever watch that movie Limitless?
Absolutely,
with who's the main character? Justin Timberlake. Was it Justin Timberlake?
Hell no. Oh. That was Bad Teacher.
Oh, right. But anyway, Limitless, and they had their monetary system was time, right? But they can control everything.
Are you talking about where he took the pill?
No, what's the one where
Limitless is where he took the pill?
Right, that's right. What's the one that they had their currency was time, and they had their time left on their hand? Do you remember that one? I'll have to think about what the name was. But anyway, it reminds me of what they say that China is going to turn into with the social credit system that they're developing. That's going to happen in the United States as well.
They have that.
They have it, but It's going to happen here if we turn to the digital dollar or the Fed coin or
I seen a video of a grocery store in China where they just scanned their eyes and walked out with their food.
Hell no.
I was like, yeah.
Well, that's what Amazon's doing right now.
They have it in the airports.
Yeah.
I went to an airport. We were, I forgot when it was. I walked into the Amazon little store, grabbed my stuff, and walked right out.
There's no checkout. There's no ladies in there.
I'm like, no, nobody was in there.
I did the same thing, and I was like, and there was somebody kind of in the corner. I was like, is it okay if I just take this and like, oh, she was like, yeah, take it and go. We track every movement you make.
Yeah.
Right? They even have scales on the shelves to know if you're taking an item off the scale, and then a camera zooms in on what you're taking. That's crazy.
I'm telling you. So it's
shoot.
Wake up.
Yep.
Not be woke, but wake up.
That's good.
Do your due diligence. Don't panic. That's the best thing you can do right now is do not panic. Get you some trusted sources. But I want to talk about China. I want to talk about Russia, because this is where we really have to identify what's really taking place over there, because we know right now they're trying to create their own currency.
Yeah.
That they want like a one world currency, but they want to get rid of the dollar because what happens, not so much now they're in the current leadership here in America, but I know Trump, he wanted to bring jobs. He wanted to bring things back here to America that were outsourced. So he put a lot of sanctions on China.
Yep.
It's like, why can we only send you 20,000 cars, but you send us 100,000 cars?
Sure.
That's not right. So he put a lot of sanctions. And then when the war on Ukraine took place, he put a lot of sanctions on Russia.
Oh, yeah.
So now China and Russia are kind of tag teaming.
Partnering up together. Yep.
To say, let's get rid of the dollar.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a big news article that just came out between yesterday and today that said China and Russia are coming together to detach their currency from the dollar. That's a big deal because the dollar, the US dollar, that's pretty much a world currency. All major currencies are attached to the dollar, and based on how the dollar fluctuates is how their own currency fluctuates. But if they detach, China, Russia, and all the big players detach, what's going to happen to our dollar? It's going to force us into a place where we have to accept maybe a digital currency, because we're going to have to reinvent ourselves. There's a lot of thought behind that.
I don't think it'll get there in our lifetime, though.
You don't think so? In the next 5-10 years?
I don't think so, man.
Oh.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I have these thoughts that it'll happen in 5 to 10 years.
If anything, we'll just go back to a gold standard.
You think?
Yeah.
You think we'll go back to a gold standard?
Yeah.
Where they'll put the dollar will be based on gold.
Correct.
But when did they take that off?
What was it, 71? Nixon?
70s. Nixon
took it off. So every dollar is worth a certain amount. Once he took it off of the gold standard, then it became a currency, and the Fed could print as much as they wanted.
It just became
had no value.
It was just fiat. It was just
correct. The store of value is
money.
what somebody decides to pay for.
So when they took it off the gold standard, it just became monopoly money. And we can just print and make as much as we want, and that's why we're in so much debt, right? The U.S. debt is in how many trillions of dollars? 32 trillion of dollars.
But the unfunded liability is like 180 trillion.
Right.
So,
wow. So let me ask you a question. I don't know if you know this answer, but if we go back on a gold standard, and maybe if somebody in the comments knows this answer, let us know. If we go back to a gold standard and they peg the US dollar to gold, don't they need the gold? Like they need the gold. They need physically to have the gold. Do you think they'll ever try to confiscate the gold like they did back in the, when was it, the 60s, 50s or 60s that they did that?
They might.
Right? They're going to ask all the citizens bring gold because they need to stock up on the gold, right?
Sure.
And then they would, I remember my grandfather told me back in the day, they would rampage through people's houses looking for gold. I don't know if it will come to that, but that'd be pretty crazy.
Call Robert Kiyosaki and say, where you been storing your gold for the last 50 years?
Yeah. Because he's been preaching gold. He's been preaching gold for a long time. Yeah.
So, very, very interesting. Just stay in the loop.
Yeah.
Stay paying attention. Right.
Questions you got to be asking yourself.
Yeah.
You know.
What will we do in case? And I know you're buying. You've been buying the past couple of years. You've been buying food.
Yeah.
That'll last 20 years.
Yeah.
That
I'm not like a doomsday prepper by any means, but I've been buying storage containers that hold rations and food and
Sure.
what's the military food?
MREs.
MREs.
Meals ready to eat.
MREs.
3,500 calories, so you can only eat one MRE a day. That's all you need.
And that's all you need. And it has a shelf life of like 20, 30 years, right? So we've been, haven't been like stocking up on that crazy, but we have some containers.
Just in case.
Just in case. Why not? It's better to be prepared and it never happened than something happens and you're not prepared. You know what I mean? Unless you're Jesse Moon and you just rely on guns and ammo and that's all you need.
It from you.
That's all you need.
You're saving up for me in case my family needs it.
No, man, I'm not telling you where I live.
Like toilet paper. I know where you live.
No, I'm not telling you where I live.
It's like toilet paper. Like we saw the run on toilet paper.
Oh
my god! Did COVID make you shit or something? Like we don't even know anything about it, but everybody went about toilet
paper. Isn't that crazy?
It's like in the South. I grew up in Georgia and South Carolina. It's like when we get cold, you go to the grocery store, you can't find any bread or milk. I'm like, what's the significance of bread and milk during the cold time?
They're thinking something's going to happen.
I would think you couldn't find hot chocolate or something like that. Bread and milk, you can't find them.
Yeah.
So it's crazy. I'll even tell you an interesting thing. I told my wife the other day, I said, babe, we need some chickens.
Yeah.
She came back from the grocery store with like 10 pounds of chicken. Right?
You weren't talking about that type of chicken though, right? You were talking about
for eggs.
You were talking about live chickens.
But she brought them back. Yeah. It's a joke, guys. But she came back from the grocery store for meal prep.
Yeah.
We got a family of 7. We meal prep. We eat healthy.
Yeah.
We do life good.
Yeah.
Right. Love my wife to death. Yeah.
You got it.
So but Russia, they're making moves and they're not being quiet about it, guys. They're plainly out there telling us this is what we're doing. This is what we're planning. And we need some leadership. Just remember this. We need leadership in this country. Not passive leadership. We need active leadership.
Yeah.
Somebody who's got some balls, somebody who's not scared to say, hey, you do this, we're gonna do this, and then you actually do it.
Right.
Right. Another thing I want to talk about before we move into the next topic is President Biden. He has his very first veto that happened this past week.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
Where the veto was, it's what is it? The ESG, this is my whole thing. What is the agenda in America? The agenda is green energy. Go clean, go green, right? So much so California even said in the next 10 years, we're banning gasoline.
Gasoline. I heard that.
So this veto is allowing financial advisors, financial planners to put money inside of 401ks and IRAs into the green energy products.
Right.
So it's pretty much going to fund their endeavors.
So they're talking about 401ks, retirement plans.
Correct.
That these big companies who manage these 401ks can take a portion of your money, and automatically move it into a sector of the market that focuses on green energy. And that's like pushing forward their agenda almost secretly without the average person really knowing. Because most people don't even know who holds their 401k. How many clients have you sit with that do not know where their 401k is or even had to log into the portal to access their money?
9 out of 10 people don't even know how to check the balance. So
exactly.
This is what I see most often. Instead of a 401k, if that person works with Target, you look at their 401k, all their shares are in Target. So if Target ever collapsed, they have no retirement plan.
Right.
Yeah. So, but there's some out there, some IRAs where they have different distribution inside of it.
Sure.
They can put in some stocks, they can put in some mutual funds, but they're going to allow them to put it into that sector of clean energy, green energy, to fund their agenda.
And there's nothing wrong with that sector at the end of the day, right? There could be potential in there, but it's the way that the agenda is being pushed. Well, it's the way that they're doing it.
Well, think about it. It's now mandatory, or not mandatory. It's now automatically you get a new career, full-time job. It's automatic. You're now funding a 401k.
Right.
You used to have to opt into it.
Yeah. A lot of people may not know that.
But now you have to opt out of it.
Got to opt out of it. So when you get a new job, you're automatically enrolled into a 401k. People don't realize that.
Correct.
And you see money coming out of your paycheck. You're like, where's this money going? You have to actually dig into the paperwork and ask them to opt you out.
And they know middle-class America is lazy, and they know that the average person changes jobs 12 to 13 times.
Right.
what are they going to do? They're just going to leave that money there. They're going to forget about it because most of them aren't even going to know that they were putting money away.
Yep.
And that's just more money for the government. So,
do you know the actual number of how much money in 401ks is lost out there that has not been rolled over? It was a huge number. I remember
pretty sure
learning
billions
about that. Yeah.
Let's see if I can research it.
If you look up how much 401k is, what would the term be? Is not unrealized. Yeah, not claimed.
Not claims.
I wonder what that actual number is.
Over 20% of 401k plan funds are lost and forgotten.
This is when people move to another job. They automatically think that their money is going to be rolled over, but it never is automatic unless you're working for the same type of corporation or company. So you actually have to go and initiate a transfer to get your money rolled over. And I know people who have 3, 4, 5 401ks and are like, I never got it rolled over.
Well, companies change money managers too. Like you see, I can't remember if it was Voya or Vanguard, but I think Vanguard bought Voya. So people who thought they had it with Voya, they don't know where their money is.
So I have a statistic. According to the U.S. Department of Labor, 2.8 million workers fail to claim or roll over 155 billion in 401k retirement assets when they change jobs.
That's huge.
In total, 24 million participants are owed, which means you might have money out there to this day, about $1.33 trillion in unclaimed 401k. That's people just being ignorant. That's people just saying, I moved jobs and I don't remember where my 401k was.
2,000 here, 10,000 here, 20,000 here.
Gosh, can you imagine that? So there's a website you can go to. This is a good nugget for people to write down. It's called actually it's different for each state. You can type into Google unclaimed property and then your state, right? So unclaimed property, Texas. Right? And then you're going to you should look for a .gov website, Texas official unclaimed property site or whatever state you live on.
Unclaimed retirement benefits.com too.
Yeah. And it'll pull up your state website. And then you put in your social, you put in your name, and you may have thousands out there. I know when I did it one time, I had like $5,000 in an old 401k.
Did you get it?
Yeah, they sent it to me. You got to go through a verification process, but they sent it to me a few weeks later.
I was sitting with a client the other day. This guy was telling me, I want to do $100,000 a year. I'm like, okay, cool. Where's your money currently sitting?
Yeah.
He says, you wouldn't believe me if I told you. I said,
can't imagine.
He said, tell me. He says, well, it's at the Federal Reserves.
Oh, gosh.
He says, I got
his Social Security?
His Social Security.
Oh, my
He's like, my mom's been using it for years. I was like, oh, even had me doing the research. I'm like, how much money do I have? So it's legit, bro. Like, everybody's social is an account number at the Federal Reserves. You can't say how much money you have in there, but you got to fill out all the paperwork. Now, the paperwork's about 60, 70 pages thick.
And you can start to access that money?
You can go to the website. They have all the paperwork. You send it to them. It's about a 6-month process.
What?
And they start sending money, bro.
Stop it.
So, but we'll have an episode on that. I'm going
to have to do some research. I'm going to have to go down the rabbit hole on that one.
Naturally, I just want to say you're full of shit.
Yeah, right.
But I started doing the research because curiosity killed the cat, right? So I started research. I was like,
well, you know how they tell us in 2032, is it, that the Social Security fund is going to be completely wiped out. It's going to go dry. That's what we're saying, right? 2032, I believe it is. Probably happen sooner. So that's all the money we're paying into these paychecks. If you're a 9-to-5 worker, W-2, you're paying into the Social Security fund, but they're saying that there's not going to be any more money for them to pay you out when the time comes.
Yeah.
It's going to be just not there anymore.
So we got a couple of minutes left, but I want to talk about taxes real quick. I want to get some plays out real quick, and I'm going to close this laptop. Now it's time to get serious. We live in the land of opportunity, Mark. Not the land of a job. But did you know that even though the majority of Americans are W-2 employees, did you know that other than government, military, and state, you're a W-2 worker, you can go and ask your employer to pay you 1099 contractor instead of a W-2.
Stop it.
And by doing that, there's a 90% probability they'll do that because they're saving 7% on taxes.
Are you serious?
And then now that you know that they're saving 7% on taxes, you can go to your employer and say, hey, Mr. Employer, I know you're saving 7%. I'd like a 7% pay raise.
Wait a second. So you're telling me I almost threw my laptop across the room when I heard that one. So if I'm a W-2 employee, I can go to my boss and say, I don't want to be a W-2 employee and you take out my taxes anymore. I want to be a 1099 and worry about my own taxes. I can do that?
You can do. You can request it.
Really?
You can't mandate it, but you can definitely request it.
Interesting. Interesting. And that would actually allow me to ask for a bigger raise because they're not paying that.
7%. Huh. You got to come with facts. Say, I know you're saving 7%. I'd like a 7% pay increase.
Wow.
Now, see, a lot of people won't do that.
Now, what would be the benefits of doing that?
Well, here's the thing. That's why the majority of people won't do that because they've been sold on, but I got health care through my employer.
Right.
As a 1099, hold on. You're paying, when you were working at your place of employment, how much were you paying for healthcare benefits?
Oh, probably $400 or $500 a month.
Cool. How much of that was tax deductible?
I have no idea.
Well, you weren't taking tax deductions.
Wasn't taking tax deductions.
Because you were an employee.
Because I was,
If you're a 1099 employer, you go and get
your own health insurance.
Your own through the marketplace, which the government already gives you an $817 credit. So like ours is $1,400 per month. Minus the $817 credit healthcare credit we already get, we're only paying about $450 per month.
Got you. Okay.
And since I'm a 1099, I'm a business owner, it's 100% tax.
You can write the rest of that 100%. Off. Really?
So now you put more money in your pocket instead of Uncle Sam's pocket.
What's the tax code? Do you know?
162A. That's the first tax code for business owners that you want to start looking at.
Okay.
It says anything that you deem, not the government, that you deem ordinary and necessary, you can take as a tax deduction for your business to run. Correct. So
guys, that's golden nuggets you just learned right there.
That's just one. This is just a teaser. We're going to be bringing some more.
Gold nuggets right
there. But one more thing before we hop off about taxes. Did you know, and I'm telling you, this is an education for you. Did you know that since you're a business owner, your business can have a board, like a panel of board members?
Okay.
Did you know it could be your kids?
Really?
And the government says that you can take or you can have up to 2 board meetings per year. And you take it as a tax write-off. So, Mark, I know you said you want to go to like Bora Bora, right?
Yeah.
You need to have a board meeting in Bora Bora, 100% tax write-off.
We're taking our kids to the Bahamas.
The Bahamas soon. That's a board meeting.
As long as you talk about business, right?
100%.
Interesting.
Your next Thanksgiving is not going to be.
So that whole vacation could be technically considered a write-off, as long as you're being more moral and ethical and conducting some type of business there, right?
Correct. That's your board meeting.
Wow, interesting.
Family vacation board meeting.
That's wild. I never knew that.
That's just a little things that you're incentivized to become an entrepreneur. Think about this. Then we'll end this. The average person goes and gets a student loan, let's say 70 to 100,000.
Yeah.
They're learning from someone who's not living the life that they want to live, who's not making the money they want to live, who's not doing what they want to do. The only thing tax deductible on that loan is what? The interest.
The interest, yeah.
And that's not even much. The 100,000, 70,000 is not tax deductible.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're a business owner and you go take that 70 to 100,000, you go pay a professional business coach, Tony Robbins, Grant Cardone, Patrick Bet-David, Matt Sapala, Jesse Moon and Mark Cassara.
There you go. 70
to 100,000. They're living the life you want to live. They're driving what you want to drive. They're living the lifestyle that you want to live. They're making the money you want to make, and they're doing what you want to do. 100% tax write-off.
Really?
The government is incentivizing you to go out there and get self-help.
That's pretty amazing.
No, it pisses me off that I didn't know this sooner.
Well, that was my next question. Why aren't more people going after and striving to be an entrepreneur? Why are they settling for working a damn 9-to-5 job for 40 years to live on 40% of their income at the end of when they're ready to retire? Why have they bought into that we got brainwashed as a young kid? And I know we need employees. Everybody needs employees.
If you don't know better, you can't do better.
Yeah, man.
So it has a lot to do.
It has a lot to do with knowledge.
Knowledge, the environment you grew up in, the circles you hang. What type of conversations are you having?
Now, here's the thing: there's always going to be a mix of employees and business owners, right? Because we can't all have business owners, and then everybody, where are we going to get our workers from? But I think more people should strive to be, even if you're working a 9-to-5 job, to have a side hustle to be considered your own business. Because along with your W-2 and a side hustle, there's a whole world of tax benefits, tax write-offs, things that you can do that will enhance your lifestyle rather than take away and detract from your lifestyle.
I would encourage everybody to start looking into business ownership and seeing, okay, this is what I currently do, whatever your current profession is right now. This is what I currently do for a living. How safe and how secure is that job from artificial intelligence? Because I need to be learning right now what skills are that are necessary for me to level up. Because if AI comes and takes your job, you're going to be 100% dependent upon the government.
And you just opened up a whole nother conversation that we don't have time to get into right now. But AI
is getting scary out there.
Think about just a couple months ago, we didn't even know what ChatGPT was.
And now they already got ChatGPT 4.
Now they're on ChatGPT 4 where those language models can actually produce images and videos.
And
Disney's shaking in its boots right now because young kids are starting to put a pen to paper and starting to create their own movies based on textual prompts that they're putting into a dang computer. Oh, man, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. So, Julian, you'll be able to be a producer.
And it's doing it faster than they thought.
Start studying ChatGPT. I'm telling my kids, 11 years old, start learning coding. Mm-hmm. Start learning cybersecurity. Start learning how to train and give correct prompts to these language models, ChatGPT, Bing, and Bard. I just got invited to Bard, by the way. Yeah. Did you get that invite? That's Google's AI. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
No, I got a 15-year-old son who's self-taught coding. I think he knows like 1 or 2 languages right now.
Because that's the future.
But he uses ChatGPT to fix his corrections. That's it's the craziest thing ever. So, but with that being said, I think that's a wrap, Mark. Yeah. We're gonna come back in about 2 days. We're gonna drop another episode. It's gonna be more in depth.
Yep.
And
Wednesday,
and we're gonna talk about AI.
Yeah.
That's gonna be the majority of the episode because
we have a whole host of different websites that you can use to enhance your business, your life, marketing, advertising. Yeah.
Because if they don't start using that, if they don't start learning about it,
at least learning familiar with it. Well, whether they use it or not, that's a different story. But at least learn about it so that they can know.
Correct.
To be prepared for the future.
It's gonna be very scary for them. So with that being said, awesome. I think that's a wrap, brother man.
Appreciate your time.
Appreciate you.
And we'll see you guys in the next one. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you leave a comment. Get involved in the conversation. Let us know what you want to hear about. And until the next one, we'll see you guys on the other side.
That's it. Legacy Syndicate. Y'all have a blessed day.
Peace.